Hello and welcome to PC Mag's One Cool Thing. I'm Matthew Buzzy. I have with me here Jordan Miner to talk about what I would say is probably one of the more unique and obscure and weird sort of products we've shown on this show. We're talking about Kanye West's STEM music player, um,
Yeah, the Donda Stem Player,
the Donda
um,
Stem Player, right
famous
right after the
album.
launch of his new album. Yep. And I mean that's almost as much as I know about this thing. So please take it away with an overview.
Sure. So yeah, when they wanted me to cover this, I'm like, well, I don't know what it says about me that I would be all over this, but we'll see. So when you imagine music players, we've had iPods and whatnot for years and years now. You have an image of your head of what they look like and what they feel like, right?
I'm
All
gonna
right.
go. I'm gonna go with square. I'm gonna go with
Yep,
metal. Those are all the
yep.
things that come to mind.
Cool. So you're definitely not thinking of a circular flesh disc, um, which is the most when you first pick up this thing, that's the thing you notice about it before any music things is that why does it look like skin and why does it feel like skin?
I love and hate that in equal measure.
Yeah, it's really rubbery and weird. They call it an anti-static thing, which sure, it feels like
Sure.
okay in the hand, but it's a little it's
It's
a little
small and it's a
puck.
yeah, it's small and it's a disc. So talk us through the price point. Talk us through what it does other than feel fleshy.
Yeah, I could not talk more about how weird the texture on this thing is and how off-putting it is from the. I mean, one, it being a Kanye West product is already somewhat off-putting, but then
Right.
you get it, and then it comes in a box that's the same beige color, and it's just flesh textured.
Because
Um,
why not?
but once you get past that, yeah, so it's $200. It is a you've known me for years now. You know the kinds of things I'm into when it comes to music creation, things that
Yep.
both focus on mashups, stuff like Fuser, stuff like Drop Mix,
Mhm.
stuff like this thing Lego Video I covered earlier this year. And this is sort of in that category. So it's a music player that's primarily for like remixing.
Okay.
Um, so it comes preloaded with Donda, including some like new unreleased tracks. Apparently, I had not listened to it, and I arguably still haven't listened to it, even in the course of covering this. So that's kind of your jumping off point.
Mhm.
But you can put whatever you want on there, and then you're off to the races with the various kinds of remixing tools that are on here.
Is that through the software? Is there some sort of hardware remix buttons? Like what does it
So
do?
so it's all you're all remixing it on the device itself.
Okay.
There's these four little. I don't know if that'll show up with my ring light.
It's blown out.
Yeah. Is that okay? There we go.
That's
So you see
better.
those four little strips.
Mhm.
Those are touch-sensitive strips that represent four different stems of a song. So like one stem is the vocals, another stem is
Gotcha.
the bass or whatever. And you can like isolate those stems. You can create like a karaoke version or like
Huh.
an acapella version, like kind of right there. It also means that there's a lot of just swiping and stroking of this
On this
fleshy
on this fleshy
little
object.
circle.
I would have thought if you didn't say that the lights were pretty much purely aesthetic. So I actually find that to be kind of cool.
Yeah, it's a navigation thing because there's no screen on this. And there are a
Are
few
there little
buttons.
symbols to show which is which track or instrument or
You
anything?
kind of just have to know. It changes
Okay,
depending on the song, but the colors will change when you move to a different song. So you at least know that you've moved on to a different song.
gotcha.
You kind of just have to intuit it. And yeah, there's volume buttons and stuff. But to like add new stuff, there's a USB port, USB-C port, and you plug it in, and you have to go to KanyeWest.com. So it's all handled in browser, which I thought was kind of interesting, as opposed to like downloading any extra software or anything.
Huh. So if you remix something and you can then save it down permanently on the device and then play it back, or how does it work?
Yes, it's saved on the device. It's only 8 gigs of storage, but it's on the device. Yes, but I've not found an easy way to get it off the device aside from just like there's a headphone jack, so you could theoretically plug in like a cable and record it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not when you plug it in, you can like see all your files and
Okay.
kind of manipulate from there. There's nothing
Meant,
like
it's
that.
meant to be made and stay on the device for the most part.
And I think a big reason for this is a potentially a legal reason, because not only can you like upload your own like all sorts of different MP3s and whatever and like lossless stuff like that, but you can also just straight up type in youtube.com/whatever and it will rip the audio from that video and put it on here, but like pretty good quality. But that seems pretty dicey.
Yeah, so this
right?
this is very much like selling the emulator software and then being like, we
Yes.
don't know what happens with it after the fact, but
Right. I think part of their cover is that it just stays on the device. It's not like you're gonna, it's pretty like bespoke in that way.
whatever these users do with it after the fact is not on us.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Um,
How's the playback quality? Their volume? Are there any weird options or anything?
I mean, the speaker's pretty small, but I think it's all right. I mean, I'm not an audiophile. I think they picked me because they know I like weird mashup nonsense. I put
Sure.
Everyone's favorite, the combination of Hamilton and the Space Jam soundtrack. That's on here.
Right. Why wouldn't you?
So I like nightmares like that, but I'm not an audiophile. I can't really tell you. I think it's a little muffled, but the speaker's kind of small. But there's a headphone jack, and there's.
But you could put headphones. Headphones or other speakers.
Yeah, there's Bluetooth connectivity, so you can do that as well. Okay. But I guess we can see here. We can see how well it comes up through my microphone. If we want to not get
just jam it.
A takedown. Let's see if I remember how to do this, because again, there's no screen, so you kind of just have to remember what the buttons do.
Interesting.
And okay, this is the Smash Brothers theme song.
Perfect.
Is that coming through all right?
Yeah.
Okay. So when you try doing the different, I'll try to isolate some of the stems. And then you say to the crowd, "Oh yeah, okay. Save your soul when you fight these Nintendo characters."
Interesting.
Yeah.
So there's no even indication of what song is going to come on, or there's no way to know that.
Yeah, you said remember the order. It's the same order every time. Again, if you have Donda memorized front to back, you'd be like, "Oh yeah, this is the one about guess who's going to jail."
Interesting.
And again, the colors change to represent the different songs.
An iPod shuffle that doesn't shuffle.
Yep. Yeah, that's the comparison I made. Definitely.
Okay.
Let's see if I can get also to like the different kind of you can kind of switch to this room, but you can kind of do your like looping and different effects and stuff. So let's see. I'll go back to the whole song.
Oh, now this is a Kanye track now.
Yes. Totally. And I can adjust the length of the loop.
Okay. And this is all just with the sliding.
Yep. And the different lights. You can see the lights are shorter now, so the loop is shorter. So
interesting.
Yeah, so that's kind of your other mode there, beyond just the stem isolation. There's also the different kind of remix stuff you can do.
Sure. So. I definitely didn't expect the remix functionality out of it. I kind of thought, when I knew nothing about it going in, that it was kind of just like an iPod. Like it played music. It was weird shaped, weird, Kanye branded. But there's some at least unique utility. I don't know how usable.
I think the utility is the point, because I think
I don't know how usable or like user friendly that non-UI is, but you seem to have gotten the handle of it.
Yeah, I think if you're not using that stuff, then there's extremely no point to buy those, because then you have a weird flesh iPod Shuffle with 8 gigs of storage, and half of it is taken up by this album.
It's gotta have something. Well, I wouldn't have put it past the brand necessarily to just put that out anyway for $200.
Yeah.
But that's kind of neat.
It's kind of neat. Yeah,
kind of neat. I don't know, worth the price, you think, roughly?
No,
anywhere near?
I think I'm still working on my review as this recording. I'm probably gonna land around like a 3.5, which is like, it's decent.
It's decent. If you take the cost and like value idea out of it, the thing itself is kind of.
Someone will buy this. Some musician will buy this and will put on a set that will be like the most mind-blowing thing ever put on stage.
That sounds right.
But only so many of us are blessed to be like freaks of that variety. So most people, I don't. Or again, if you just also go into it as like a weird sort of like accessory, like not even about like, you're not even thinking about it as like, oh, like I'm a serious like musician, but just like
this is like
Kanye West music little flesh pod thing.
Yeah, this is like a streetwear item at this
point. Yeah.
So it's have it on your person, and that's all you need.
So as far as like utility out of like a device, out of a thing that's not even really like first and foremost like meant to be a useful product, I think it's actually kind of neat, the things you can do with it.
That remixing stuff is cooler than I would have thought, so I'll give it that.
Yeah, you can take this at a party, or for example my party that you may or may not be invited to.
Everybody come on.
That you can just pass this around, and like you can kind of like accidentally make some cool looking stuff. Sounding stuff. I put the Sopranos theme song on here, and when you like speed that up, like it's already kind of funky, but when you speed it up, it just becomes like a straight up kind of disco song.
Yeah, and then who knows what it'll mash up with? And work great with.
Something I've tried to mess around with, I've not got a full handle on, is it seems like there is a way where you can take different stems from different songs and play them at once.
Okay.
but I've not got a full handle on that. And again, the lack of screen makes it kind of tough to like
Plan
experiment
it at all.
Interesting.
Someone's gonna have the definitive user guide to the stem up soon if you just wait.
Yeah, here's how to unlock all the Kim Kardashian diss tracks, which are on here, and apparently we're not. I just researched. Apparently, there's some stuff on here that wasn't in the full version of that album.
You gotta hit a secret button combo on the flash disc.
You gotta you gotta do some. I don't know, different finger. Well, no,
Konami code unlocks it.
Yeah, the Kanye
code. Well, unless you have any other single weird feature, I think that pretty much sums up the Donda Stem.
I think if people really want to do some nightmare mashups and like have it on like a portable device, they should just buy a Switch and play Fuser. But
great game.
But this does what it does. I think it's impressive. The way it separates the stems, I think is really impressive. Like just putting again, I ripped that smash from YouTube, and it was smart enough to like, here's a that sounded pretty good. Like an instrumental was pretty convincing.
To do that and then let you also mess with the file in a meaningful way is pretty cool.
So I think it's pretty impressive for what it does. It's just a very limited, very kind of it's a toy,
It's a toy. It's it sounds like a novelty, but it's one that does something. So that seems pretty neat.
And again, your mileage may vary on your opinions of Kanye West as an artist or as a person, but
right. As they should vary indeed. Well, if you're a big fan, or if you are just really into the idea of this disc, or you really enjoy making silly mashups, and you haven't played Drop Mix in a while,
or you just want to feel some flesh in your technology. If you're
plus it's way fleshier than any of the other games, so that's a real boon.
If you're a big fan of Videodrome or Existenz, some Cronenberg movies,
have we got a disc for you?
Got a disc for you.
Thank you so much, Jordan. His full review is coming to PC Mag as he mentioned. So stay tuned for that on the details and the final score. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.
Peace.